Welcome to Behind the Lens. My name is Tom Blank, and Behind the Lens is an ongoing conversation relating to people who work in film or have something to do with film in the city of Eugene. Today, my guests are Jeff Johnston and Marv Leake. Hi, guys.
Hi, Tom.
Good morning.
And let's start with you, Jeff. You have a regular show that you do. It's called Rollin On?
Rollin On TV.
Rollin On TV, and it's about?
It's all about RVs, anything to do with recreational vehicles. We cover interesting people, destinations, new vehicles, new products, just, pretty much cover the spectrum of what people do with their RVs.
And how long have you been doing this show?
We are started in our 4th year now, so we're still kicking in there.
And I understand you are the on-air host.
That is correct. For good or ill, I am the on-air host, and I introduce the segments and do what an on-air host does for a show like this. And
this is a show that's syndicated, is that correct?
Correct. We are nationwide broadcast. We're not a we have the shows, the episodes, of course, archived on our website, but we're broadcast nationwide on a variety of networks.
And in Eugene, where does one go to see this show?
We're on Fox Channel 4 and 5 Sunday at noon. They sometimes run us at 10 o'clock in the morning on the other channel, but we're usually bumped by NASCAR or big money-making projects of one kind or another.
Welcome to show business.
Yes.
Yeah. And Marv, you worked with Jeff frequently.
Quite often, yes.
And you worked together this last year on a documentary about Blues Brothers.
We did. We were brought in to help get distribution for a documentary on the famous Animal House movie. And so Jeff and I worked a lot. He worked, I came in as a director. There had already been some sequences done, but I came in as a director, and we tried to get enough stuff that we could hopefully get distribution for this feature film. And we had a great time. We spent quite a bit of time. We had some scenes at the Dexter Lake Club that we wanted to kind of copy the lighting pattern, so our version would match the same version as the movie. And so Jeff and I spent hours looking at the lights and figuring out how everything was done, and we went and matched almost perfectly what had been done. And then we came in
matching animal houses.
Matching animal houses, so that for the footage for the movie it would also have the same look. And we did a kind of a what would you call it, a reenactment of the toga scene, sorts, so that and we had a new band, and then we had Otis Day come in. He was flown in, and we had him do his famous shout from the Kingsmen, and so it was quite a gig.
And you were there too, Jeff?
Yeah, I was there primarily as lighting, but I also ran the sound equipment. So it was a lot of fun.
So what we're looking at here is a feature-length documentary to be called?
Animal House of Blues.
Animal House of Blues.
Right.
It takes the blues together with the Animal House.
Right.
Connotation.
Well, it sort of a look at how the making of Animal House in Eugene affected John Belushi, and how he learned more or less to appreciate blues music, and kind of got him kick-started on his whole Blues Brothers gig that he did later.
So this is the beginning, the origin story for the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah.
So we had quite a time on that shoot. We came in and we thought we had Otis Day, who was nice enough to come in, and his voice was a little off, so he couldn't sing. So we had to kind of do some different things with music to kind of fill in. But it came off looking very good. We had a thing go on with the contracts. Apparently, the contracts weren't all signed when he got there, and we thought we had the whole afternoon with him. And after we started shooting, we found out we only had about an hour to work. So as a director, I had to completely change directions and move things along fairly quickly. And we got everything we needed and got him worked out of the shots.
How'd that make you feel?
Exhausted. No, it made us feel pretty good that what we'd accomplished with what little we started with, and so yeah, it came off great, and the music and the I can't say enough about the people at the Dexter Lake Club. They did a great job. The bartenders were all in the back, and they were dancing and having a great time, and we had a lot of the actual some of the extras came in that had actually been in the movie, the original movie, and came in and were dancing around in togas and having a great time.
So you're doing a film that you have to do faster than you ordinarily would, and you're in a room that's a working bar.
Yes.
And how many people are in this bar?
Probably 50 or 60. Yes.
And you know now you have to move quickly and get the material necessary to tell your story.
Yes, and that all had to come together really fast and impromptu, and of course we were working with live sound too at the same time. And we were
the good part, we were blessed in that this took place in, I think, January. So
yes.
It was really cool out, and the room was not what it would have been if it had been a summertime shoot.
You know, ordinarily, the lights will amp up the temperature in the room.
Plus 60 bodies in a room that's just about capacity for that space. And the owner of the bar when he bought the place, redecorated that room to look like it was in the movie intentionally, just for the sake of the nostalgia right. And people coming in and so on. So it was, and it was just as crowded as it looked like it was in the movie too.
So there was an interesting story when we were first doing the intro, getting the band from this magic bus into the bar. As a director, I kept having to call for hold for the ice scrapers because we were still scraping ice off the sidewalk to make it look like there wasn't any ice there. So we had a crew of about 3 or 4 that were shoveling to beat all heck, and trying to get it ready so we could actually move the camera around to the other angles and stuff. So,
and who were you working with on this show?
This was produced by Catherine Wilson.
And tell us who
she was. She had been one of the local casting. I think agents or directors of when Animal House was originally shot.
So she was there when it was shot.
She was there with it when it was shot. So was I. I was actually an extra in the film way back when. And
would I be able to find you if I?
Yeah, there's one little shot. I got cut out of some stuff, but I was there. I mean, I think I ended up having to take an extra term in architecture school because of the classes I missed while I was getting excited about this movie. It was a great time. I got to know Doug Kenny and who was one of the writers of the original Animal House, and got to be good friends with him, and so it was worth it. It was worth it.
So, do you have any anecdotes that you'd like to share, or should we move on?
Well, the scary one, I guess, we were set up in a little bar in Portland, the Firkin Tavern,
yes,
to do another scene that was not duplicating from the movie, but it was a music video type shoot, and we were set up. Catherine was having a meeting with the crew and cast in the back of the room. We were setting up the lighting. We had everything rigged, and Marv and I look at each other and says, "Smoke." And we smelled smoke in the room, and started looking around at the lights for melting gels or anything going wrong. And Catherine is Native American, so as part of her ceremony back there talking to the crew, she had a little smudge of sagebrush that she was waving around the room smoking, and we asked her, next time, let us know ahead of time.
Because
even though it smelled like sagebrush and not burning rubber, but still, it was exciting for a few moments.
There was a lot of adrenaline rush before the actual first shot, because everybody was running around, everybody's diving for lamps to pull plugs, and it got to be very interesting, and not one of the things you want to have happen every time.
Right.
So.
Now, In terms of, that's an interesting project. You have an interesting project ongoing with Rollin On TV. But I'm also interested in just your personal stories about living in Eugene and having an interest in film and finding a way to make a living here. So can you, Marv, start us off here and tell us how long you've been in Eugene and how much you've been able to use your skills in film?
Sure. I came back to Eugene about, it's probably been about 14, 15 years ago now. And I had been in film in the Midwest. I had a company that I did projects for studios and went out and did location work and stuff, and different things, everything from stunts to military gear to putting together, you know, 3 semi-loads of equipment when studios came to the Midwest, so they didn't have to ship everything.
Where were you located?
Out of Wichita, Kansas. And so that was, you know, I was working kind of steadily there. Then I came out here, and it kind of went down. And as far as I didn't have my contacts that I used to have out there, because I was like a small fish in a big pond or whatever, you know. And so it was interesting when I came out here, because I had to kind of network, and I joined a group, Shaggy Dog, and got to know filmmakers, and then through that process I actually got to know Jeff as part of the process, and we it just kind of took off from there, and it's been going pretty steadily. We got some different projects in the works now, and some different small shorts and some features that we're working on. And as far as, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Well, you are.
But
you know, what you're telling me is that you were a local contractor.
Right.
Self-employed.
Self-employed, yeah.
And you continue to try to find opportunities to make film.
Right.
Jeff, can you kind of take us down that same road as far as your life is concerned?
Well, I've been born and raised in Oregon, but I've been back here in Eugene for about 13 years now. And I am, as far as local filmmakers are concerned, I'm a little bit unique in that I do have this TV show, and not very many people do that on an ongoing basis. But beyond the show, I simply do freelance things. I work as a production assistant on feature, TV commercials, industrial shoots, and so on. And I pretty much, like most people in Eugene in my kind of shoes, I pretty much have to hustle up things myself. You have to make your own opportunities here and find them and make them and develop them. And I do DVDs that I sell primarily in the restored live steam locomotive area and the model railroad hobby area. So I put out new projects like that I sell. But as far as working, the best work that I find typically comes from OMPA, which is the Oregon Media Production Association, and
it had another name before that.
Well, OMPA is the statewide name. We are now, we used to be called MOPAN, Mid-Oregon Production Arts Network, that was centered in Eugene, and it covered more or less the South Willamette Valley. MOPAN was independent. Now we are simply a chapter of OMPA and known as the Willamette Valley chapter of the OMPA. And members of OMPA, that is the most valuable thing for me, because that's where I get most of my work.
Can you explain the process of how someone who joins this organization enhances their ability to make their skills known?
Well, when you're part of that organization, they have a website that is searchable, and OMPA is primarily a networking and resource access group. So they have a website that lists anything that a producer would need if they're coming to town, come to Oregon from out of town, and they want to do any kind of a film or video project. All the resources are there. So an individual joins OMPA and then is listed after a vetting process, because it is a professional organization, in that database and in the printed directory we have called Source Oregon. Comes out every year. And then a producer comes in, and in down here, for example, when you sign up for that organization, you list yourself as being affiliated with the South Willamette or the Willamette Valley chapter. So somebody wants to do a project based out of Eugene, they can hire local people because they can find those local people through OMPA, rather than hiring someone from Portland and having them come all the way down and the associated expenses and so on.
Marv, have you been a member of this organization?
Yes, yes, and we've gone up several times to Portland to meet, and at that time you can, I mean, it gives you access to legislature, you know, the government for incentive programs, and I've had several programs that I've gone to out of that have been quite helpful. There's some documentary seminars that they run up in Portland, and it's very good, very good. You meet a lot of the people from OPB, great people, and so yeah, it's been very, very helpful.
Yes, I have never looked on the website, but I have had a copy of the printed directly from time to time, and it's clear that this is a professional organization. When I moved to Eugene, I was asked to join, so I was listed in that for a year, but it didn't really serve me because I wasn't looking for work.
Yeah.
So I let that slide, and but I did meet some interesting people through going to the meetings. Is your experience of it's a monthly meeting?
Well, OMPA, the local Willamette Valley chapter has monthly meetings. It's usually the third Thursday of the month, and lately they are primarily social meet and greets and networking opportunities. The same thing takes place up in Portland. They have frequent, because they have so many more people there, they have monthly and sometimes even like bi-weekly get-togethers like that they call, you know, movies and beer or something, and they get together at a local microbrewery and they just have a schmooze and networking meeting. And those are really valuable. It's a great way to meet local people that are doing something like you're doing, or to find crew if you're looking for people to help you with a project, for example.
Okay, Marv?
No, I think it's great, and like I said, the programs that they run up there are really good, and it's like it's like any other profession, the networking process is critical. You have to know people that you can call when you need help, and you have to know where to go, and when you have these people on the list, you know, it helps you out. And
if, say, someone is watching this program now and they have either some experience in working in film or a desire to work in film, is this something that they could get involved in?
What do you think?
You mean OMPA?
Yeah.
Yes. OMPA, to be listed in Source, Oregon as a professional resource, you do have to be vetted. But there are the usual, in addition to that, there are the usual social network online sources. Facebook, of course, comes to mind, and there are several Facebook groups that are specific to local filmmaking that you can join that are also good resources for getting out there and learning about people who are seeking help with projects or otherwise working on projects. And as odd as it may sound, Craigslist can once in a while be a valuable source of opportunities as well. They have crew listings, they have film, TV, video work opportunities. So that's another good way to go if you don't happen to be OMPA qualified.
Is this system of online checks and opportunities in any way connected with crowdsourcing?
You know, I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure how you would define crowdsourcing.
Yeah,
in this sense.
Looking for backing looking for financial backing for a film project is often thrown in that direction, but I've never had any experience with that.
I think from a production aspect, what we found is you have to be a little bit careful, or I should say maybe very careful on Craigslist, because there are people out there that can use you. You know, you can just take a look at it. You can kind of self-vet.
Some of them are
Some of them, you know, hey, need a pretty girl, and you know,
yeah.
you have
some
to
of
be
them
careful.
are kind of funny, really.
Yeah,
You read
some of
through
them
it
are
and
real
you
funny.
you think, how can somebody really be trying to get a crew or help like this? They're just incredible.
Yeah.
But there are legit ones there as well.
There are some.
So it's a mix.
Yeah.
It's a mix. You have to watch. You just have to be careful, like in life, you know.
So give me a little bit more of your personal background in terms of getting started in film, Marv. How'd you start?
Well, I kind of came out of the cinema paradiso kind of learning. I think I was really young. I can't remember whether I was 15 or 16, and I got a job editing. This is back when they used to do they used to actually run 16 millimeter films in the television studios to play for the Saturday afternoons and Sunday evenings and stuff. And when they came through, and I was out in Omaha, and when they came through, I had to do kind of like in the movie where there were censors, and you had these two old guys to go. And so my job was to come in, and they would cut out these pieces, and then my job was to always come back and edit those the next day. And a lot of times they had to save some of those. So all the movies that were being shown, it was like, and that's how they did it. And so, you know, you'd have 2 reels on the side of the room going, and if somebody screwed up and there was a break or something, you'd have film flying all over the room. And so I came out of that, I was interested in it, and got into doing, you know, my own camera work. Went through 8 millimeter, moved up to 16, and I wanted to be a producer or director, and so I knew that I couldn't afford 35 millimeter, and so I started purchasing 16 millimeter cameras and getting my own equipment and creating a thing so that, you know, a business so that I could eventually have the luxury of doing my own stuff. And so I got from that, as I started to get more skills, I started being hired to do commercials and to do small features. And, you know, I think like anybody coming up, at one time you go through the horror film genre and all these things. And then I got, you know, to where I was fairly well known, and I started being picked up by the studios for special projects. And I think it came through, like any other profession, people being able to trust you, right? And know that if you say you can do something, that you can get it done.
You'll deliver.
You'll deliver. And that's really important for, I think, for new people coming in, is that they you got to be able to count on everybody. When everybody's coming together to do a pressure project, you got to be able to count on the next guy. And it's
like going to war with somebody.
It is. It is. You've that word. You know, we've got your back. You know, and you've got that trust is all about. I mean, I can take Jeff for example. One of the second time I worked with him on, and I was, you know, in the middle of just this great confusion, and I made a note to myself as I was talking to actors that we needed to move this light, and I went over here and came back, and I came back about 3 minutes later, and I was starting to tell Jeff, we need to get that light, that highlight on the back moved, and I looked up and it had been moved, and he'd already seen it.
He watched.
He watched the style of what we were working with, and it was just like, okay, that's, you can't ask for more than that when you get in a fast-moving set.
Yeah, that's true in Hollywood, and it's true in guerrilla picture making, and it's also true in what we would call low-budget, local production.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jeff, tell us how you got started.
Well, remarkably similar to Marv, I began making 8 millimeter films when I was in junior high school, approximately. And not long after that, I also got a job as a projectionist at a drive-in in Oregon City, back in the carbon arc lamp and 2,000-foot reel and changeover days. And I never had to cut out the, I guess we were a more liberal area, but I never had to do any editing on the films, but we were a low-buck drive-in, so occasionally we would start a movie up and start watching it we hadn't seen and say, oh my, and I would have to dash out to the board, to the signboard out by the road and put a big X up there, much to our chagrin, but it didn't stop the crowds from coming. But working in the 8mm films like that, and then gradually I graduated to 16mm, bought a Bolex camera when I was in high school for $635. Why I remember that, I have no idea. But anyway, moved up to 16 to get better quality, and started doing a few TV commercials for our local community college, and that developed into still photography. So I took about a 20-year side trip into automotive journalism, shooting photos for magazines and such, and then gradually got back into doing video work by way of a show about RVs that my old company had years ago called RV Today, and again moved back up here to Eugene, and it just that passion and that interest never left.
Yeah, one thing after another.
Yeah, and I just maintained that interest and looked for opportunities, and you know, kept up with the state of the art with what equipment was out there and what you could do with it. And it's a lot easier today than it was in the old days of 16mm, but it's like Marv said, it's a matter of also being reliable, being consistent, and being someone that people can depend on, and that's what people look for to hire, in whether you're a production assistant or doing your own project.
It is not so much a question of the title you get.
Yeah.
Because I heard you say you take a job as a production assistant, and many people will think that's just a flunky or someone that goes for things. But you bring with yourself a certain capacity and ability to get the job done, which means you're more than a production assistant, and yet you don't necessarily have the union association of the Hollywood system. So you're there, you know what you're doing, you're getting the job done. And do you have, we're coming to the end of our time, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I think it's like you said, it's like there's an aspect of going to war, and you are in stressful situations, and you want everybody working together, and anybody, even the production assistants, they are part of the team, and they are helping just as much as the director or the actors, or to get the job done and create that magic.
So thank you both of you. We've been talking to Jeff Johnston and to Marv Leake, and thank you for coming. And those of you in the audience, if you want to make a movie, these are good people to get in contact with.
Thank you.
So thank you both very much, and this has been Behind the Lens.